Hello, I'm Richard Murphy, and I want to talk about a very important issue, which is, should we end the furlough scheme? Now, until March this year, I suspect that almost nobody in the UK had heard of the word furlough. I'd only come across it very vaguely and was aware that in the US it was used to describe people laid off from work. Well, since then, we've become intensely familiar with this previously unknown word because the government's furlough scheme has been used by employers to lay off more than 9 million people in the UK during the course of the coronavirus crisis, with the cost of that payroll being borne by the government. The total payment by the government now amounts to tens of billions of pounds, roughly 40 billion at the time we're recording, and is going to rise by the time that the scheme is scheduled to end at the end of October this year. Now, the government has said that it's only right and proper to end the furlough scheme because people need to know whether they are going to have a job in the future or not, and only by ending furlough will employers have to decide who is to be employed after that date or not. I personally do not agree with that. I think that the decision that the government is making is wrong, and I'm strongly suspecting that there will be another U-turn from the government, just as they've done on A-level results, GCSE results and other major decisions arising from coronavirus. Why is that? Well, partly it's because the number of people who are going to be made unemployed as a result of the ending of the furlough scheme will be way in excess of any number that they are currently forecasting. At the time of recording, which is in August 2020, official unemployment figures are around 2 million people in the UK. The forecast for unemployment is that the number will exceed 3 million people before the end of the year. But I simply do not believe that when there are nearly 7 million people still on furlough, that 6 million or so of those are going to go back to full-time employment in October, and the rest, a small number, are going to be unemployed, and that no self-employed people will also become unemployed as a result of the ending of the support to them under a different scheme. So my belief is that the government's forecasts on the number of unemployed are simply way too optimistic. Now, if that's the case, and in the face of the outcry that rapidly increasing unemployment will create, I believe the government will U-turn on furlough. But I think it should, in any case, U-turn on furlough, and there are a number of reasons for that. First of all, we simply can't afford this many people without an income in the UK. Secondly, we know universal credit is quite simply not enough to keep a family on. Thirdly, we know that if this many people are unemployed, the effect on demand in the economy because of a lack of confidence, which inevitably is associated with unemployment, will be enormous and we'll head for an enormous recession. So the consequence of ending furlough with a precipice-like action, a particular date, is going to be so significant that I believe the government will have to change. But there's another reason as well. It is important to keep the infrastructure of our economy going if we are to ever recover from the recession which coronavirus has created. What do I mean by infrastructure? I literally mean the businesses and the employment relationships with which they're associated. If we do not keep businesses in place, ready for a recovery, and if we do not keep their employees in place, ready for a recovery when it happens, then the chance of that recovery happening anytime soon will not exist. It's as simple as that. Because once we have to rebuild the businesses and force those businesses to create new systems and find new staff and relearn processes, then the rate of recovery will be slowed dramatically. So the furlough scheme is an insurance policy that gives us the chance of getting to the point where recovery is possible. So for that reason, and particularly in sectors that are most heavily hit by the impact of coronavirus, those in tourism, for example, who are going to have the most awful winter in 2020-21, those industries must be supported to make sure they have a chance of being there in 2021, if we're to have any prospect of recovery, ending furlough would be a disaster. A disaster for some people who'll be watching this video, but a disaster for everyone in the sense that we cannot afford the unemployment that will unleash on our economy. So I'm sincerely hoping that on this, as on so many other things, the government thinks again, and the plan to end the furlough scheme on the 31st of October does not happen. I'm Richard Murphy. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this video series on YouTube if you're interested. Also look for us on Facebook. I am on Twitter @Richard J. Murphy, and at the same time look at my blog Tax Research UK, where you can find much more on these themes. And I'll see you again soon.